Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Certainly it would be very interesting to see a parade of people displaying birth certificates. It would give the media and the spectators the chance to see what a birth certificate actually looks like, and probably an array from many states at many different times, and you would see the difference, the gulf that separates a real birth certificate from what Obama has brought forward, to say nothing of this important Indonesian interlude. But now let's sum up the world situation. Big labor action in Greece that has actually included the occupation of the finance ministry. Imagine if demonstrators had gone into the Treasury Department here in Washington. It's very heavily guarded, but in Greece they've done it. They've occupied the Greek finance ministry, the tax authorities. I guess it's because the public employees, the people who work in the Greek finance ministry, are the ones heavily targeted by these outrageous austerity measures from the banker's boy, Papandreou. We've got Iceland, where the popular mobilization seems likely to score a big victory, a no to the IMF and International Financier Oligarchy Program. And then we've got the U.S. students. This is now the consequence of the world depression. We've got state budget crises. Obviously, the $20 to $25 billion hole in the California budget is large. New York State, basically proportionally the same story. Illinois, perhaps farther gone than either one. The mega states all hurting, and then taking that out of the hide of public education. Now, here's the problem. It's wonderful to have 100 campuses in ferment in 32 states. It's great to have a day of action. There was a very militant demonstration at the Berkeley campus, described by the press as a riot. Well, it was a militant demonstration. But the problem is this. The ruling class response to that is what we see from Obama. Obama read the riot act to the teachers' unions again this week. Poor Randy Weingarten of the American Federation of Teachers is now shocked to discover that Obama is the strikebreaker and union buster that we've seen all along. This is a scab regime in Washington, D.C. That's the long and the short of it. So he says, there's this case of a school in Rhode Island where the teachers have all been fired, and Obama thinks that that's great. So Obama, this is basically the same thing as Reagan firing the air traffic controllers. So Obama is now under left cover doing a militant union-busting job in favor of the ruling class and Wall Street in general. In Greece, you've got these unions, right? You've got the GSEE with 600,000 members. That's the private sector. And then you've got ADEDY, A-D-E-D-Y. That's the public sector. And when they get together, you will see them again shut the whole country down next week for the second time with a general strike, a mass strike. And again, according to many, this is going to go on for months. Similar stuff coming in Spain and elsewhere across the Mediterranean southern flank of the Euro. They want to defend themselves against the hedge fund attack. Well, we here in the United States are equally under hedge fund attack. And that is essentially what happened in September of 2008. Who drove Lehman Brothers into bankruptcy? That was hedge fund fratricide, as I reported at the time. And these characters are now meeting again on Park Avenue to pick a new target. This time it's the euro. The problem is militant demonstrations by themselves will not be enough. What's your program? If you only have a militant sector of the population demanding that it not be targeted, it's very easy for the ruling class controlling the media and so forth to turn one part of the population against another. If it's public sector workers in Greece, they can get the peasants, so they can get the shopkeepers against the public sector. They can divide and conquer. The challenge is to create a program which will articulate a common interest of the society as a whole, i.e. its survival, at the expense of Wall Street speculative interests. And that is what the students need to look at. You go to Berkeley and you say, I don't want a 33% tuition increase. And, of course, that's a very justified demand. The future of any society is education. National suicide for the U.S. to begin shutting down state institutions. However, if that's all you do, it's very easy for a demagogic politician, a Schwarzenegger or some right-winger in particular in the future, some Austrian school type, to come out and say, well, these pampered brats, these selfish kids from Berkeley, they want all these privileges. The rest of us are hurting. Let them be hurting too. So that's the demagogy of Wall Street as expressed through some Powell. Now, if you want to counter that, you've got to say, no, we are saying specifically we can tell you how to pay for our needs, and we can tell you how to begin to reform the society as a whole. And that's the Wall Street sales tax. We don't want any more taxes on small business. We don't want any increases of the state income tax or other regressive taxes. We want a progressive tax. That means a tax on Wall Street. And that's a 1% Tobin tax on all Wall Street turnover. And they'll say, well, if the state of California imposes a Tobin tax, we'll leave. The hell they will. It's too big. There's too much money there. They can't leave. They can't give up on their desire to loot the state of California, which they would be doing. And remember, if you've got a national movement, then similar things are going to be happening in New York and Massachusetts and elsewhere. So the Wall Street sales tax, the Tobin tax, the securities transfer tax, the trading tax, read all about it at tarpley.net, is the key for any intelligent student, activist, militant today, because that gives you a platform to say, let's turn the crisis against the perps, the Wall Street characters, the people who brought down Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, who created the crisis and then precipitated it. And it is not the people who should pay. But now we have an interesting problem. We see that in Iceland, people have the general understanding that they need to fight for their own interests. In Greece, we have a militant labor movement, same thing in Spain and Italy, elsewhere. It's not going to be easy to impose killer austerity on these countries. And here we've got this very positive sign of the younger generation of students here in the United States also saying no to Wall Street, no to their austerity. But then we've also got the teabaggers. Now, what's the attitude of the teabaggers? You see that it's in contradiction to all of this. I'm told that there are even on some campuses, they've got student teabag movements. What is their program going to be? Well, it'll be something like shut down public education, increase tuition. We don't need poor people going to college. We don't want to pay for that. We want college to become an elite thing for 3 or 5% of the population, the way it was maybe during the 1920s, or even better before World War I. So college goes back to being the elite province of the stupid sons and daughters of rich speculators, and they endow the colleges, and they get their kids in, and it becomes a completely sterile elitist operation. That, of course, is national suicide, because every place else in the world is going in the other direction. Even India, most notably China, are expanding access to college. So if you want to begin shutting down public education in the way that the foundation-funded arms of the ruling class are trying to do, you're going to destroy the country. And that's maybe the other thing that students need to understand. There's a great desire in the ruling class to shut down a lot of these institutions. There was actually a debate held at the National Press Club a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's ongoing, about does the United States need to send so large a portion of the population to college now that we're in the world of scarcity and penury and derivatives and zombie banks? Isn't that an unaffordable luxury? So you can see what the teabag protest will be. The danger of the teabag movement is that now that as they stagnate and degenerate, they will become strike breakers regards to students and also in regard to labor. They'll become a kind of, militia, we might say. We'll be back in a minute.